Good. How about you today?
Yeah. I mean, I've got.
Feels good outside. Makes you happy. Yeah. Excited. Yeah. Treasure Island again. Got the thumbs up. Yeah.
Well, we'll call our meeting to get to order and begin with. We'll call our meeting to order and begin with the superintendent's report.
Well, thank you, Skip. Hello, everybody here today in the audience. Thanks for joining us this evening, and also a big welcome to our community members that are out on the live stream. It's great that you're here as well. Spring feels like spring today. Spring sports kicked off today. Very excited about that. Also, spring brings state assessment season that's coming up, and I'm going to start out tonight by introducing Dr. Sarah Basalia, principal here at Indian Lake, and she's got a special announcement.
Okay, so I just want to make sure everybody can hear because we're in for some treats tonight. How's that? Okay. Okay. I am going to start us off by just asking our student council to come on up and kick the night off for us. So, student council.
Welcome to Indian Lake. We are happy that you are here. We'd like to show you how we start each day at Indian Lake. Please stand, cushion your chairs, and stand respectfully facing the flag with your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's now recite the Indian Lake Pledge together. The words are projected on the lake are a caring community of learners, where each individual gives an honest effort, respects all others, and takes responsibility for himself. You may be seated. We'd like to tell you about some of the great things Indian Lake students have done this year. In October, we held a sock drive called Socktober. Students collected 2,247 pairs of socks to donate to children at the Kalamazoo Gospel Mission. During the month of January, students raised enough money during our hot cocoa at recess fundraiser to buy new sleds for our newly constructed Hill of Hope. There is also enough money to begin construction on a shed to store sleds in on its playground.
Indian Lake is a very special place to be. We have spirit weeks and dress-up days for fun. Each month we focus on a different character trait, such as kindness, grit, leadership, forgiveness, and more. Students are recognized each week and at the end of each month for showing the character trait we have learned about.
Here at Indian Lake, students learn and grow academically as well as socially and emotionally. Our school counselor, Ms. Richardson, has helped students implement a restorative conflict resolution practice called peer mediation. Peer mediation is an empowering program that gives students the opportunity to become leaders in the area in peaceful conflict resolution. 4th and 5th grade students are trained to facilitate
mediations by speaking directly with the students involved. Mediators listen non-judgmentally to both sides of the conflict and then assist their peers in coming up with a peaceful solution to their disagreement. Once a solution has been developed, together the agreement is written down and signed by all, including the student mediators. This evidence-based conflict resolution process is a significant component of the social emotional learning CEL and is one of the many restorative justice practices currently being implemented in Indian Lake.
Indian Lake is a very special place to learn and grow. I am proud to call myself an Indian Laker. Here is a poem I'd like to share with you about school. School is something we must all embrace, knowledge we need to seek out and chase. Subjects and teaching styles are plentiful and varied, just like the backpacks we all need to carry. Sports, clubs, and activities at every single turn, so much to do, study, and learn. To get the most from school, we should consistently attend. Around each corner, there's always a friend. Our favorite teachers are friendly and kind. Their passion and job is to expand every mind. School is something we must all embrace. Just remember to learn at your own pace. Thank you for coming to our school tonight.
Thank you so much, Student Council. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Mrs. Heinzelman, and we can enjoy some songs by the choir.
Dr. Basalia asked me to ask the kids what choir means to them. And so it was just so easy. The answer was instantaneous. But first I want to take for making this a priority during our school day. We don't have everybody here, but this is the biggest choir we've ever had here at Indian Lake. We usually either meet after school or during recess. So these kids are giving up their recess time. So let's give them applause because they're really working hard. And to answer this question, what I've observed, I see a lot of smiles. We have choir on Thursdays, and so we have kids that will see me on Wednesday and be like, I can't wait for choir. And then after practice, I'm like, can we have practice tomorrow? I'm like, oh, only Thursdays. So I see tons of smiling faces from the children. They said, choir's amazing. I feel so great, confident. It's just amazing. And for a lot of them, it's a place to belong where they can express themselves. And so that's really, really important. And it's a group of friends who have become like family. And another student added, it's a place to try new things. So thank you. We're going to start out today with the Indian Lake School song. It was written last year. I've had a melody for a long time, but it was Ms. Baker's 5th grade class that helped us, and it has all of our character traits in it.
Use a slow word, school that's part of a family. maybe there's a reason to believe you'll be okay. Strong enough to stand, you can reach out your hand.
What a way to start. Isn't that great? It is, and I just want to tell all of you how wonderful you sounded, and you have a gift, because you can make music with your voice. I hope you realize that as a gift. And I got a huge kick out of seeing all the smiles on your faces. And I'll tell you, I needed that today, and that was a great night. Patty, wonderful job.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim. Switch to this microphone for just a second and just say, kids, if you would like to maybe grab a snack, you can sit with your parents. If you'd like to go ahead and head home, you are welcome to do that now. It is a school night, so we gotta get our PBIS. Okay.
Yeah. We'll take a couple-minute recess for those of you that want to leave.
Busy that way. We get busy.
Thank you. It was wonderful. The smile on the kids' face.
I know.
I mean, if that doesn't do something to you. You want us to go eat?
Yeah, get it all done and move on. Yes. It is cool. It is.
Computers don't like me.
That was great. So what if everybody signed up? Yeah, and then well, Bryce, my son lives in Boston. He's gonna fly down and stay with us for a week, and then Randy's gonna fly into Michigan State for 4 days.
Okay, because he will all be there.
Yes. Yeah.
What's he doing out there?
He's a mechanical engineer for Evoco Water Technologies. It's a global company, yeah. So he was in Indy, now he's in Boston, then he'll go to one more location, and then he'll be able to choose where he wants to live.
So he already was with them.
Correct.
It wasn't a job change.
No. Like
I
the
don't,
first
sorry.
9 months he was on the
Huh?
service side,
You want me to find one?
or product side. Now he's on the service side. So he's going to learn all the different layers and
Yeah.
choose where he wants to go.
Kind
He
of
really
like
likes it. So
Craig was all over like that at the beginning, remember?
Oh yeah, he did his first job for Perosis
What a great experience when you're young like that.
yeah, that's what I told him. He goes, "That's so expensive out in Boston." I said, "You're only there for 8 months. Just break even." And
Oh my God.
yeah, he's happy.
Lauren wanted to go to school there and decided not to.
His place is exactly halfway between Harvard and MIT.
Oh, you're
He's
kidding.
right in Cambridge. Yep.
So a bunch of dumb people are with us.
Right.
He couldn't get in a much
That's what I
more
told him. I
expensive
said,
area.
Yeah, I want to bring that sense of terror to every time.
Okay, we'll call our meeting back to order and go back to the superintendent's report. Stephen?
Thank you, Skip. Yeah, just a couple quick updates this evening. One, as you know, last week I spent a day and a half with legislators in Lansing, and being in an election cycle, most of the conversations were around budget and tax cuts, which are obviously very popular to voters. We spent a lot of time talking about the teacher retention and pipeline issues that we're currently experiencing in the state and the nation. We discussed school funding. Also, I was very strong regarding the evaluation requirements in the state that need to be modified. So we had some very, very good discussions. However, we have a long way to go. Right now, the budget discussion in Lansing is very taking up most of the time. Governor Whitmer's budget was very ambitious, and now the House and Senate are working on their proposals. So stay tuned. We'll have the revenue conference in May, and then hopefully we will have a budget wrapped up before July 1. Also tonight, I want to bring forward a resolution that I'd like the board to adopt, and this is a resolution lawsuit against Juul Labs and other producers of vaping products. In 2019, several California public schools sued Juul Labs Incorporated and other producers of vaping products in a California federal court, and now the lawsuit is seeking other public school districts across the nation to join. Troon Law has recommend that we do join this lawsuit. So tonight, this will be on the Board of Action items to pass this resolution. Also, spring brings lots and lots of activities. For those of you that were able to go see SpongeBob the Musical last weekend, you have 2 more chances if you weren't able to go. March 18th, Friday at 7, and then Saturday, the 19th at 2. And then next week, Records Day will be the 25th, and then we will be on spring break from March 28th to April 1st. And then April will resume school on Monday, April 4th. And we are kicking off the kindergarten kickoff season as well. So look forward to giving you those updates as they come in. And with that, that's my report.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, we'll go on to reports and public inquiry, and we'll start with our budget and finance report. Steve?
Okay, I've got just a couple of things to report on this evening. First one being the monthly general fund budget progress report. And so this report includes activity from the beginning of the fiscal year on July 1st through the end of February. Taking a quick look at the revenue on a year-to-date basis, we've collected $15,670,000. And just a quick note there, there's a couple timing differences when you compare to last year. You'll see that the federal revenue is down significantly, and that was due to a lot of the COVID-related funding last year. We do have about $1 million of federal expenditures that we anticipate being eligible for reimbursement, but those funds have not been received yet, so they're not yet reflected in the current year activity. And then on the last line in revenue there, other, you can see that we're at just over 1.7 million compared to 1.1 million last year. The majority of the revenue in that other line comes through KRESA for primarily the enhancement millage, as well as special ed funding. And those payments are typically, they're typically 4 payments a year, and just the timing on when they arrive can influence that. So while we're ahead, that doesn't, that's not indicative of a significant increase in those funds. It's truly just a timing difference. All right. So total revenue, $15,671,000. On the expenditure side, you can see that total instructional expenditures year to date are at $9.75 million. And then when you look below to support services, total support services stood at just under 7.1 million. And there are a couple of differences there. I'll point out the maintenance line, which includes all the facility related expenditures. Last year was just over 2 million, whereas this year it's just over 1.5 million. And the majority of the difference there is related to some of the HVAC upgrades that we implemented last year, the bipolar ionization, the testing and balancing to ensure that we had optimal airflow in all the classrooms. And that item was right around $500,000. So that's the majority of that difference. On the transportation side, there's a couple of things there. First, the current year included the purchase of school buses at just over 500,000, or about 530,000, which wasn't reflected in the prior year budget. And then also last year, with the secondary levels being in person 4 days a week, fewer athletic trips, that type of thing, there was just a lot less transportation expenditure last year. And so we're seeing salaries, benefits, fuel costs, all those things kind of ramp up this year, back to more where you would expect those to be in a typical school year. All right, so I just want to point that out. Below support services, there are 4 additional lines for athletics, community services, debt service, and interfund transfers. And you can see the breakdown there. And so total expenditures year to date are at $17,449,000. All right, on the second page of that report, we break down the expenditures by object code, just to give a sense. The majority of our expenditures we talk about frequently go to salaries and benefits. You can see that year to date we're at combined balance there of $13,773,000, and then you can see the breakdown for purchase services, supplies, capital outlay, and other. there any questions on that report? All right, if not, second item in the report is there is a recommendation to approve the award of a contract for electrical service upgrades at the middle school. And a quick rundown on that. We had 3 bids, all from great contractors that we've worked a lot with in the past. The low bidder was More Electrical, and the total cost on that was $282,000. That includes an alternate, because, you know, we anticipate not this coming summer, but the summer of '23, we'll be doing a substantial amount of the HVAC upgrades that that we've seen at Sunset, at Toby, we'll see here at Indian Lake this summer. And the lead time right now for the panels and some of the materials that we need is up to 40 weeks. So this contract will be awarded for work that'll be done in the summer of 2023. There's an alternate in there because while those electrical service upgrades are being completed, there's going to be a lot of other work, and we have, you know, each year it seems like the construction season gets shorter and shorter. We, you know, have a lot of summer school, a lot of demands on our buildings year round. And so while we have that work going on, we need to provide some amount of power so the contractors working on HVAC can see and complete their work. So there's about a $22,000 alternate to provide a backup generator so that parts of the building can be powered while other contractors are working, okay? So we'll have to just kind of stay tuned on that. Any questions on that? All right. If not, I'd like to take just a moment and remind everybody that we do have a millage election coming up soon. Election day is May 3rd, and many people have probably started to receive absentee ballots, and so we want to start getting that word out there. This millage is for the non-homestead operating millage. It's a renewal. That millage has been in effect since roughly 1994 with the passage of Proposal A, and that millage, which is 18 mills, applies to non-homestead property, or more specifically, property that doesn't have the principal residence exemption. So if it's your first home, your primary residence, that tax doesn't apply, okay? And it's not, as I said, it's a renewal, it's not new money, but we do rely on that because that millage is required in order to collect the full per pupil foundation allowance. So that local share for the non-homestead millage really comprises the first dollars of the per pupil funding. And to put it into a little bit of perspective, you know, this year our foundation allowance is $8,700, and you know, for next year, based on what we expect taxable values to be for the non-homestead property, that millage will raise about $2.1 million. And so, you know, based on our current enrollment, that would have the same effect as taking our foundation allowance from $8,700. It's about $800 per kid, and it would drop it down to $7,900. So, it's a substantial amount of money. It's required to collect our full foundation allowance, and so I would just remind people to vote. There probably won't be a lot of other things on the ballot, so it's one of those things that's easy to forget about, but it's important that everybody, regardless of how you feel about it, it's important to vote. So please plan to do that on May 3rd. Right.
As Steve said, it's a millage that we who live in the district get a vote on. But it's on businesses, it's on rental properties, it's on other than our homes. So it is very important, and I hate to put it this way, but we're taxing somebody else rather than those of us on our homes, so we need to get out and get it done.
All right, any other questions?
Thanks, Steve.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Indian Lake Elementary Annual Report, and I just want to say to all of you what a wonderful job you did setting up the room, how nice it was. I don't think we're going to be able to eat all that food, but we'll try.
proud of you guys. Okay, I think it would be best, I mean, you can turn around to see the screen, but if you want to come out here even, and then your neck will be more comfortable, I think that would, I would suggest that. Do what you and then I'm going to turn this microphone on. This is Schmidt, I think we can skip to the next slide. Okay, how's the volume? Everyone here? Oh. No, that's totally fine. Yeah. I'm gonna turn this down just a little bit. How's it going? Good. Okay. Well, these are just folks who wanted to come out and be supportive and pitch in however they could. So, of course, we have Mrs. Heinzelman that heads up choir and music, Mrs. Herring, who is in charge of student council and did lots of other hauling of things and tidying up around here, which is very nice. Mrs. Rewa is our resource room teacher, Mrs. Barton, intervention, Mrs. Hughes, kindergarten, her partner, Mrs. Boudry, kindergarten, the famous Miss Richardson, our school counselor, who we all love and adore. You know Mrs. Naster, who holds our office down. Sarah Dyer's just sneaking in there. And then Mrs. Jamerson and Mrs. Martins for our second grade crew. And actually with that, if I'm going to have Mrs. Schmid way back in the corner. She's helping out too. Don't forget her. So this vision, this is our vision and mission. This is not a surprise to anyone, but I asked our second grade team if they would mind having some students read it for us from their perspective. So Mrs. Schmid, will you just hit play on that and then...
We learn in different ways.
We learn in different time frames.
If you don't understand in one way, our teacher will find another way.
We get feedback to help in our learning.
We can persevere and take responsibility for our learning. We are partners. We are partners in our learning.
And perhaps most importantly, we believe.
Mistakes are expected.
Inspected. And respected.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So that's probably our favorite belief statement around here, that mistakes are expected, inspected, and respected. So if we have some mistakes tonight, just respect them, we'll inspect them, and we'll revisit. Okay, I want to just make sure that this is working. Yep, okay. All right, so to frame our conversation tonight, I, first of all, have so many things that I'm proud of that we're doing out here at Indian Lake, even in this kind of weird year. So I could talk a whole lot tonight, and I'm going to try to keep it simple. But what I wanted to highlight really is this whole child idea. So that's our goal, is we want to really support the whole child. And this is just a graphic that we keep in our forefront here at Indian Lake and at Vicksburg Community Schools. And just remembering that those three components of academic opportunities, social emotional well-being, and then health and wellness is how we can really support the growth of the whole child. And I have to tell you, I think we all know this, but it does not happen on accident. We can't just show up and hope, cross our fingers and hope that it all falls in place. So we rely on these multi-tiered systems of support. So what I want to show you tonight is our systems of support in action. And we're going to start with academics, then social emotional, and then health and wellness. Okay? So I do want to talk a little bit about academics.
And when we think about academic achievement, we always want to think about proficiency. You know, are kids hitting the target, but also are they growing? So maybe they've already hit the target, but we want to see them continue to grow. Or, you know, maybe they've come in with a lot of barriers to their learning and they're, you know, low, as we would say, and we want to just see them growing as much as they can. So I'm going to share some of our data with you from the last few years. Are you ready for this? Okay. So please remember, this is a snapshot. This is not the whole story of who our kids are. This is one picture at one point in time, okay? So let's start with math proficiency. Let me explain this graphic just a little bit, and I'm even going to use my little laser pointer so we can be on the same page. So we've got this lightest gray column. That is from the winter of 2019. That was the year everything came to a screeching halt. So we don't have a full you know, year of data to look at. We ended that about, well, in about January of that year. The middle column is last year, where we had some students virtual, some students face-to-face. That data captures all of those kids. And then the darkest bar is where we are right now. So I just kind of wanted to highlight that we are on track to have fewer students on watch and more students at or above grade level in math this year than we had compared to last year. Then we talk about growth. So SGP is just a measure that we use when we talk about, it's called student growth percentile. And the kind of goal there is that we would see kids making an average growth of 50. Okay, so that red line is kind of like our target typical growth. And remember, this typical growth is not, it's not normed for pandemic life. This is normed pre-COVID, and so that we are hitting that 50 SGP average in our building is super encouraging. And this measure is it's nationwide, so it's normed across the nation, not just, you know, kids here in Vicksburg, but across the nation. So that's, you know, that's kind of where we are at this point, and that student growth percentile in math is on track with where we were pre-pandemic, which is very encouraging. Okay, let's look at reading for a minute. So pre-pandemic, mid-year, we had 74% of our students at or above grade level, 15% on watch, and then 11% in intervention or urgent intervention. And then you can see that we are on track to have fewer students on watch and more students at or above grade level in reading this year compared to when we closed down 2 years ago. Okay, and then when we look at student growth for reading, we actually have two measures. So we have our early literacy assessment, which is what's up here. This is usually used with, say, our BK, kindergarten, and first grade students. And it's really like pre-learning, pre-reading skills. And this year, when we looked at our data, we knew we really needed to invest in our youngest learners. They took the biggest hit over the past couple of years. And you can see that our efforts are paying off and that we've seen incredible growth in our youngest students. And then our STAR reading assessment, which typically kids sort of transition to this assessment sometime in first grade. So this captures, you know, most of our first grade through fifth grade students. And you can see like the partial year and the full year were very similar in terms of growth. And here, you know, we're having a very atypical year still. We're having a lot of absences due to, you know, the pandemic, but we are happy that we are showing typical growth in this atypical year. I think that's all I wanted to say about those. Just a quick, this is a little bit messy, but I just wanted to show, this is what a student attendance looks like right now. So the blue line is like all absences. Yellow is absences specifically related to COVID. That's quarantine, if they were, you know, positive, anything up to this point. And then that red line is our absences not related to COVID. So, you know, I'm very confident in where we're headed this year, But I think the biggest thing is just that attendance piece. We just need kids here so that we can get our systems going. And another thing that we're doing in response to the data that we're seeing, and again, we are not doing this alone. It's a district effort of really prioritizing that small group instruction. So as kids have missed, we're targeting those skills that they've missed as they've been out. So I think between getting kids here to school every day and getting that small group instruction at the top of our list, we're gonna see great growth.
Are those student days missed?
Student days.
So if you miss one kid misses a week, that's 5.
Yes, correct. Yep. Okay. That's all the data, so we can move on to some other fun things. Okay, so I just wanted to shout out some specials. Of course, you saw some of the good work that's happening tonight with our choir and what's happening in music. We are just so thankful to have specials back in full swing this year. It's incredible how much we really missed that, and to have everything back up and running has just made a world of difference for the kids and just the culture and the feel around here. We do have a new PE teacher who is bringing lots of fun ideas to Indian Lake. You can see there's like the glow in the dark bowling, and we've got our wall happening. And then Mrs. Heinzelman also kind of took a leap of faith this year, and she had done some new training, and so she has brought a creative movement class to our BK students, which you can see down there. Just some academic spotlights. Again, I think you're going to hear me say a lot, we're just so happy it's back. So being back at the OEC, and what a privilege that is that we have the opportunity to visit. We're getting those trips set up now for the spring. Battle of the Books is back in action. We've got that competition coming up soon. As you walk in and out of the front door, we were able to partner with KRISA this year and plant a book garden. That is just a really cool way to get free books into kids' hands. So the kids have been very excited about that. March is Reading Month. Please walk the building and see all of the fun decorations for our Olympic theme, March is Reading Month. And we have some STEM days coming up, which again, super excited to get that in place. Every class, every grade level is going to have some type of STEM day. So the lower L, we're partnering with the Air Zoo, and upper L, we're actually going to go to the Growlers Stadium, and they have a STEM day planned for us, and then we'll get to see them play as well. So pretty pumped about that. Some targeted learning that we were able to do this year. So Bronco Buddies is a partnership that we established this year with WMU. And the tutors who participated in that are all majoring in education. And so it was kind of a win-win, because they could kind of hone their skill and put into practice the things that they're learning. And then we got to partner with our third through fifth grade students and get some specific and targeted reading skills there. And then our Lexia Challenge was a month-long challenge. Lexia is a supplemental reading program that we use, and it's an online program. And so this was an awesome way for our intervention, students who are receiving intervention, to partner with families. And they could work on their minutes, on their goals, both at home and at school. And then Mrs. Barton, I will just say, not really we, Mrs. Barton really championed this and displayed their progress in the hallways, and they could see, where they were and where they were headed, and they were very engaged and excited about this challenge. And then, there were some families who needed some support, had technology barriers, so we were able to provide a device and hotspot for any family that needed it for that month-long challenge. And finally, when we think about this academics piece, speech sprouts. I just cannot say enough about Mrs. Fleming is our speech pathologist, and this is a new idea. She was part-time here, and she was seeing a lot of walk-in students for speech and language. And she would maybe see them for 30 minutes once a week. And so this is a great way for her to have 4 to 6 kids come. They typically come twice a week for 60 minutes, so they're getting way more support in this language-rich environment and it's all targeted to their speech and language goals. So very excited to have that. I do want to take a minute to talk about this social emotional piece, and I think if we've learned anything throughout the pandemic, we know we have to come to the table when it, for our kids when it comes to their social emotional health and well-being. So this is, again, a district graphic that we look to a lot, but the main idea here is that we have these 4 core pillars, and we're working on strengthening them. I will say, I don't feel like I've arrived, like we've arrived with all of these, but we're working so hard to make sure that we're here and we're ready to respond to the needs of our kids. So I want to talk first about that positive behavior support. So PBIS is, like we are a PBIS building, and so what that means is that everywhere you go, there are building-wide expectations. So no one's confused about what we're supposed to be doing or how we're supposed to be doing it. We teach, we model, and we reinforce, and then we focus on those monthly character traits. And the most important thing, I think, to this is that we acknowledge. So when kids are doing what we want them to do, when adults are doing what we want them to do, we acknowledge that. And then, of course, we're always monitoring that, that behavior data, too. So a couple of ways that we can acknowledge kids is through our pause tickets. So of course, as they're going through their day, whether it's on the bus, in the cafeteria, in the classroom, they can earn pause tickets for making the right choices, and then they can cash those in. We do a drawing every Friday, so kids can come down and shop in the pause store. And some of those prizes are non-tangible. So that's me in the corner having a lunch date with a couple of students who earned lunch with me. So some are tangible things, and some are just experiences. And then every Friday we have our pause assemblies. We have done those all virtual this year, and we've done it live, synchronously. It's a hoot. Like, you just hear the roar through the building, and kindergarten hosted one, and it was like they had this chant, and the kindergartens would chant, and then everyone else would chant back, and it was just a great time. We always have the 5th graders kind of help with the bulldog and do all kinds of silly things together, so it's really fun. That second pillar was trauma-informed practices, and here at Indian Lake, we've worked really hard at establishing a few core practices in this area. So one is community circles. So every child, every day, has access to a community circle. And those look different depending on the classroom and what's going on at the time. But it's become a really pivotal part of our day. Every classroom has some kind of calming corner, so if kids need to take a break, they can take a break and come back. This zones check-in piece is awesome. I mean, every morning kids are checking in and saying, what zone are they in? Adults use this language. Even for me, if I see a child in the hallway, it's just become the narrative of the building. Like, what zone are you in? Or you look like you're in the yellow zone. What can we do to get you in the green zone? What are some strategies that you can use? And then, of course, we were able to partner with Kids Hope again, something we weren't able to do last year, so we're very thankful for that. And then a counseling partnership where we have professional counselors that come in during the school day, and we'll do some clinical counseling with students. Yeah, I actually thought about having us do a community circle tonight, so maybe next year we can do that. But basically, you circle up. It's a circle. Everyone has an equal voice, so either you're all sitting or you're all standing. There's a talking piece, and there's usually a topic, and maybe just a question of the day or some kind of prompt. And then you just start it off, and everyone gets to share the thing. So sometimes they're silly, sometimes they're very serious or heartfelt. These guys could tell you a whole lot about community circles, but it's just a grounding point for the day. So it brings everyone in, everyone's got a voice, everyone's got a place, everyone's got value, and there's a place to talk about whatever's on your mind. Yeah. Restorative justice. So we do utilize our community circles at times for this piece. So this is just providing an opportunity to restore harm. So if there's a conflict, or skerfuffle, sometimes we like to say, a misunderstanding between kids. We want, again, we want everyone to know that their voice is heard and that there's a way to solve problems. In peer mediation, the student council spoke a little bit tonight about our peer mediation program, which is really strong and again, kind of headed up by Mrs. Richardson. And it's really awesome to see the skills that the mediators are learning to navigate conflict in life. And that kids they'll put in a slip and say, I'm having a hard time. Can you help me navigate this problem with my friend? Social emotional learning instruction. So we very much look to CASEL for guidance. And what we've really focused on is that self-awareness piece and self-management. And again, we bring in some of that zones material so that we're checking in and being aware of how we're feeling, how our body is feeling. And then how do we manage it? So I don't manage you and you don't manage me, but we manage ourselves. And our counselor, Mrs. Richardson, again, and our social worker, Molly, do a fabulous job of bringing those lessons to classrooms. And our teachers are taking on, some of that learning and language and conversation too. And then I want to take a minute to just give a shout out for some adult cell practices that we have going on here. So when we came back in the fall, Mrs. Richardson, Mrs. Beardsley, and Brianna Welling, Mrs. Welling, our school site, put together a full day of professional learning for everybody that wanted to do it. And I think we had nearly 100% attendance at Indian Lake. And it was a really powerful time. And it's not rocket science, it's just looking at those 4 pillars of what are we doing here, who are we, how are we gonna meet the needs of our students? And a lot of good things have come out of that, just getting us on the same page and prioritizing this work. From that, then we developed a social emotional learning team, which we are very much in our infancy here. And what does our time together look like? But we're just trying to keep moving forward and leaning into this work that is sometimes a little uncertain, or we're dealing with some big feelings or all kinds of things these days. So just that team to kind of keep us moving in the right direction. And so important this year, every year, is just providing opportunities for the adults in the school to care for one another too. And I can't say enough about, this is a picture of Mrs. Peps when I had COVID, bringing me some things, and it's just a constant pulse and looking out for each other. And I think that adult social emotional support goes a long way in supporting our kids too. And then the last piece is just health and wellness. Our food service staff really hold it down. We used to serve about 50% of our kids through our free and reduced program. We're at 75 right now. And what's so great about this team is, yes, they are providing nutritious, foods, breakfast and lunch, but beyond that, they're there for a connection with the kids. And we're just thrilled to have the team that we do. Some relationships and services, we've, again, just bringing some things back, like our buddies and safeties. You heard a little bit from the student council tonight and the success of the Giving Tree. Our library, you guys, to not have a library for a whole year, it was tough. It was really tough. And so I will just say I've shed tears a few times this year. And this was the first time when I walked by the library and it was it's just bustling and kids are in there and engaged and excited to have books in their hands, and seeing kids utilize the reading room again, it's fantastic. And we have Mrs. Negri does a great job in the library too, and Mrs. Brandt. Fitness, looking for good opportunities to have some fitness going on. Our Hill of Hope has just brought a lot of joy to us this year. I would like to give a little shout out to Mrs. Jamerson and Mrs. Martins and Mrs. Herring for just all of the efforts that they've put into making this happen. We aren't quite there. We still need to seed it, and we want to shed for the sleds and that kind of thing. But it's been a blast this year. Able to do Girls on the Run again, and our 5th grade ski trip. Our talk about grit. Our 5th grade teachers rescheduled that 4 times this year to make it happen, either due to weather or COVID or what have you. And 98% of our 5th graders were able to participate in this year. So everybody that wanted to got to go, and it was a really, really cool day and fun. Just coming into the year with so much uncertainty and worry, and kids are coming with worry. We just really wanted to make sure we were capturing those memories, focusing on, laughing and just being together. So these are just a few ways that we have done that this year. Family support is huge. I mean, I think you felt a little bit of that tonight with the turnout. But again, the partnering has looked different in the last couple of years. And but families have found a way. We found a way to be together. The outdoor concert was just such a fun experience. We were a little like, is this gonna go? Is it gonna be okay? And the weather, like just in time, the weather turned in our favor. And look at the great turnout for our 2nd and 3rd grade performance. Our Pause store, just stocking that cart, and of course helping, actually build the Hill of Hope. I think our conferences look amazing, that we had 96% of families attend our fall conferences and 91% in the winter. So very, very thankful for our family support. We are launching a family leadership team right now. We just kind of got that off the ground, and I'm very excited to just make that a regular thing. And last but not least, our PTSO, again, been a weird couple of years, and we're just so thankful for their grit and persistence and looking for opportunities to raise funds. We're looking forward to a carnival coming this spring, and just continuing to partner with them. And I think that's it. You guys, we took this today. This is our blacktop. And that's every student in the building is around the perimeter of our blacktop. Isn't that cool? Yeah, the kids had a good time with it. It was really funny. All right, so with that, I'm happy to answer any more questions that you might have about Indian Lake. If anybody else want to say anything? Yes.
What is this book garden?
Oh, the book garden. So it's a KRISA initiative, and the idea was to plant book gardens throughout the county, just solely to get books into kids' hands. So all of those books are donated to us, and when we get low, we just call them up and say, hey, we're getting a little low on the books. So kids can take them with them. They can return them if they want to. So it's just a little bookshelf. It's really cute. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Comments?
It looks great. And, it proves having all of you in the building face to face is important to kids.
Yeah.
We lost that through no control of our own, but we'll get that clock back up. But you ought to all be proud of what you're doing, the impact you're making on kids, and all of the neat stuff over there.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks. Okay. I think we can transition No, I'm going to sing for you.
That'll warm you right up.
One of the things that the programs that you have is for tutoring kids using WMU Ed students. I mean, you're doing it to help kids, but I think district-wide, whatever opportunities we have to expose those students to us, because it's going to be the market is changing, and also we get to figure out who's got it together and who doesn't. So any chance we get to work with WMU department, I think we should do, and look for opportunities to do that. And I think it's great that you're able to do that.
Great.
I agree.
Well, I don't think we had anybody that signed up that wanted to address the board, but do we have anybody in the audience that wishes to address the board?
Sing a song, do a dance.
Okay, we'll go on to board. Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't sign up, but after listening to the presentation, I just want to thank you for your commitment to get a full-time counselor in our community. It has been amazing, and it really has helped so much right now, and, as we move forward. So thank you to the board for that.
Well, it's important. So, yeah. Thank you for that comment. Okay, we'll go on to board action required. First item we have before us is approval of the board meeting minutes, first being the regular board meeting minutes of February 14th, 2022.
Move approval.
Moved by Tina,
Support.
supported by Carol. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our work session, March 1st, 2022.
Move approval.
Support. Moved by Tina, supported by Carol. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Our special meeting minutes, March 7th, 2022.
So moved. Support.
Moved by, Jennifer, supported by Tina?
Jennifer.
Yeah, I said, moved by Jennifer, right? And supported by Tina? Yeah. Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of general fund invoices totaling $346,856.69.
So move. Support.
Moved by Carol, support, Jennifer, did you support it?
Tina.
Tina, okay. It's hard to hear who's doing it down there. Any discussion? Dave?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And yes, motion carries. Approval of purchase card disbursements for January 2022 in the amount of $94,968.77.
I'll move approval.
Moved by Dave, supported by Carol.
Dave's down there.
Discussion? We got to give him a chance down there. He's down there alone.
We give him a chance, but he's too slow.
Dave?
Yes.
Okay. Jennifer?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And yes, motion carries. Approval to award bid package 26.1 to the low bidder Moore Electrical Service Incorporated at a total cost of $281,990. Project to be funded using proceeds of the 2020 bond issue.
So moved.
Moved by Tina,
Yep.
Support.
supported by Dave. Discussion. Dave?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And yes, motion carries. Item E, approval of Vicksburg Community Schools resolution to join other schools in a lawsuit against Jewel Labs Incorporated and other producers of vaping products.
So totally moved.
Moved by
Support.
Tina, supported by Carol. Discussion? Dave?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And yes, motion carries. Item F, approval of 8th grade trip to Cedar Point on Monday, June 13th, 2022. All expenses to be paid by the students.
Move approval.
Moved by
Support.
Carol, supported by Tina. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, approval to extend Superintendent Kevin O'Neill's contract as per contractual agreement.
So moved. Support.
Okay, well, I had ties on everything. Who made the motion?
I did.
Tina did, supported by Jennifer. Discussion? Dave?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And yes, motion carries. And item H, first reading approval of Vicksburg Community Schools Policy 1616, 3216, 4216, and 5511.
So move.
Moved by Carol,
I'll support that, Carol.
supported by Tina. Discussion?
Tina.
Dave?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And yes, motion carries. Yes.
Okay.
Dave has something he wants to share.
I wanted
with
to
us.
share something. I have an 87-year-old patient of mine was writing an autobiography for her grandchildren and great-grandchildren. And she said, she copied part of it for me because it had to deal with schools. And I know, Steve sweats it when we ever have a building project, so I wanted to read her recollection of building the high school in 1950s, okay? So she said, oh, and she said the other problem was that none of her grandkids can read cursive, so she thought I would appreciate it. We moved into the building in my junior year in the high school, so the class of 1952 could graduate from there. Students helped with the move by hand carrying items from the Kalamazoo building to the W Avenue building. We had lines across the lawns from one building to another. Cheap labor. There's probably laws against that now.
We get in trouble for that now.
The high school was, and underline, not finished. I remember during my junior and senior years, the carpenters, plumbers, and electricians work while we studied. Can't read that word. Workers and tools were all over the place. We went about our business of learning, and they went about theirs. No problems. So, Steve, I wanted to give you some encouragement. You sweat this every summer, and I thought you'd like to know the history of the 1950s.
And obviously, it was a great experience for her.
Yes, she's very proud of her graduating from that new building.
Yep. Okay, on that, we'll stand adjourned. Thank you all for a beautiful evening. It's so nice to be back in a school building and see you all.
Thank you.
And that will stand adjourned.
All right, now if I can figure out how to shut down my...